Good morning, everyone. We're going to talk about how to use Pear Deck in your classroom. Pear Deck is an add-on of Google Slides, which allows you to build interactive content into your slides for your students to use with you. So let me share my screen. Here we go. There is a presentation link. It's up here on the top of the slides if you want to follow along at your own pace. And we are going to demo what the Pear Deck platform looks like at the end, so you can actually see the student side of it and kind of understand what your students will be doing on their end. And I'll show you what it looks like from the teacher side as well. So that's me. All right. So I found this really cool kind of hand-drawn infographic online of the things that Pear Deck can do. So Pear Deck allows your students to respond to your questions on their own device. There's all these different kinds of responses. And I put this star here because the draggable feature and the drawing feature are part of the premium version, which we do have in Milford. We have it for the entire district. So every teacher in the district has the ability to use the full Pear Deck platform. Student answers can be displayed anonymously to their peers, meaning if you allow students to view each other's responses, they don't see who posted which response, but the teachers can see who each answer was submitted by. So it's anonymous to the students, but identified to you. You can embed your websites and videos that you want displayed to the students directly into Pear Deck, so it kind of forces them where you want them to go. She said it's the superhero of slideshows. And it does automatically save to your Google Drive, because basically how it works is you start in slides. And once you have your slides, your presentation created, you then put the Pear Deck pieces into it. And we'll talk about how that's done. You can export your student responses as a spreadsheet, as Google Sheets. So anything the students respond in Pear Deck, you can pull out for data purposes. You can also send your students takeaways, which is a Google Doc of all of their responses to the slide. So if you want your students to have a hard, quote unquote, hard digital copy of the slides, you can send them, there's like a tick box that you can turn on that when the presentation is over, when you're done with that lesson, the students will get a Google document that says, here are your responses, your answers to the different questions. And then she talked about the benefits of using Pear Deck. It allows students to have student voice. They can be engaged. It does allow for feedback and the thinking and application, as opposed to just sitting there and taking notes while you're presenting a Pear Deck. So obviously she developed this when they were in school. So all of these are a little bit more in schooly, but it does lend itself very well to remote learning. I did put in a slide of the things that you get for free versus what you get with the premium version. We do have the premium version, so this isn't as applicable to us. This was a presentation I developed when I was working at a PD session for another district. But just so you can see all of the extra stuff that we do get by paying for it. And Pear Deck actually has 3 pieces. So it has Pear Deck for Slides, which is in the middle, and that's the prompts and the questions and the things that the students respond to in your slides. And that's what most people know Pear Deck for. But it also has 2 other pieces. The first one in blue, which is called Pear Pop. And that basically is a way, not so much for the remote aspect of our teaching, but for the in-person. When we're in person, if you have an on-the-spot question or prompt that you want to pose to the students, you pop over to your computer, you open up Pear Pop, and you can immediately ask them some of their pre-formulated questions, and they just post right up on the board, and the kids open up or are already on their Chromebook and they're able to respond, and it's real quick. Kind of like how you can do Kahoots without having the prepared question, like you orally ask the question and they respond on Kahoot, same kind of deal. There's also Pear Deck vocabulary, which is really cool and fun, especially for the littles. Where you put in words and sometimes definitions of those words, and the kids get a chance to write their own definitions and illustrate the definitions of the words, and they work in partners, and it's kind of like a competitive game-based kind of thing, and we'll look a little bit into that later. So I'm going to show Pear Pop real quick. So it's unplanned and spontaneous, and during Pear Pop, you can still see the teacher dashboard. So that means you can still see the students responding. There's a timer, there's a lock screen, meaning you can freeze things on the kids so they can't go back and forth. between your different questions that you might have up there. And if you've posed a prompt based on the student responses, if you have another prompt or question that you want to ask, you can add those in right then and there. You don't have to, you know, kind of send everybody off to do independent work and, you know, fiddle with your slides to add a new slide and put a new question in there. It's really quick. And once you get familiar with the platform, it's easy to pull in those questions kind of in a couple seconds. And you can use PearPop to monitor student participation. It gives them a way to ask and respond without actually having to do it in front of the others in the class. And you do have documentation of who said what, even though they don't see who said what. Some of the ways that you can use this. So if a student asks a question and you feel like it's a valid question to ask the whole class, you can do that using this platform. You can use it as a bell ringer or a welcome question, kind of that response that the students see when they walk in the classroom. Like you could even do it for your lunch count if you wanted to, like which kind of lunch you're going to get, or what's your favorite season for the younger kiddos, things like that. You can do that. You can do it for a quick comprehension or understanding check, something like an exit ticket. You can post a question on a field trip on the bus home. All of our high school kids, for the most part, have cell phones. So you could post that kind of question of what was your favorite part of the field trip, or where did we go, even though field trips are kind of out right now, but it's there. You could also post SEL topics, like how do you feel about this? Or how did this book make you feel? Or are there any questions that you have about this particular topic? And you can also use it for discussion monitoring, like we said, to make sure that every student's participating, even though they might not be discussing things out loud. Everybody good so far? Questions? Awesome. All right, so now we're going to get into the meat and potatoes. Pear Deck for slides. This is what most people think of when they think of Pear Deck. To get this to work, you have to put the add-on into your slides. You do, your students do not. It will work for your students just fine. It's just the person creating the Pear Deck slides that needs to have this add-on. So I do have a link for this in the slides, and I will make sure that everybody has access to it. It should actually be pushed out, if I remember correctly. Dan and Kevin in the tech department, they did push this out, I think. So everybody should have it. When you go up here in your slides, when you go up to the menu bar under add-ons, there should be one that says Pear Deck for Google Slides add-on. It should be there. If it's not, go to get add-ons and you can search for it and then just add it like you would an extension. All right, so the first thing you're gonna do when you do this is you're either gonna create your slides for what you wanna present to your students, or if you already have a prepared slideshow, you can open that up and then use it on something that's already created. You can use Peardeck to insert your videos, your images, all of that stuff that you're normally putting in there. Just make your Peardeck, your slides the way that you normally do. Don't do anything different, put the same stuff in there that you normally do. When it comes time to put the interactive stuff in there, when you're asking the kids questions or getting their feedback or doing whatever you want with them, that's where you're gonna use the add-on. So for example, if I wanted to put a question on this slide, I would go to add-ons, I would go to Pear Deck for Google Slides, and I would open it. And then it opens up over here on the side. It takes a minute or two, but it has a template library, which are pre-made questions and backgrounds and things like that. So this is kind of where you would do the PearPop from. But if you typed your question onto the slide, you could then pick one of these different types of responses. So you have text response. This is where the kids type out their answer, whether it's a word, a sentence, a paragraph. You have multiple choice. You put what the choices are into the question. A number, so the kids type a number. And the reason this is different than text, when the kids type a number on the teacher dashboard, you actually see kind of a number line of where the student responses are. So if you asked, for example, how many elements are in the metal family on the periodic table, and the kids typed in a number, it would show you kind of a splatter chart of where the numbers are. So you could get a real quick idea of how many kids were kind of in the right ballpark, or if the numbers were all over the place, this is something you would want to teach. You can embed a website, which makes it so that your slide and the website are side by side on the student screen. So they're able to see any questions or information that you're giving them along with the website that you want them to be looking at. The kids can draw on the slides that you put in here, or the kids can drag a shape on the slide that you put in here. And we're going to look at some examples of these in a little bit. You can also add audio, so you can record yourself and you can put it into the slides for the students to listen to. And then they have some other stuff that they have going on, like they have some digital citizenship, some other things that you can put in there and do on your own, something to explore on your own. But for the most part, everybody kind of sticks up here with the questions. I haven't played around with their audio a whole lot, so if somebody plays around with it and wants to let me know how it goes, I've mostly focused lately on the questions. The audio piece is a little bit new. The only other thing is some teachers are very imagey and they like to put pictures and GIFs and all that kind of stuff into their slides. If you do put a GIF, which are like those little mini pictures that kind of move back and forth, they do like the same motion, 5-second motion over and over and over again. If you put those in your slides and you want them to work when you do Pear Deck, if you do not use this extension here, this power up extension, it's just going to look like a flat picture. So if you want that GIF to move, you do have to install this extension for that to work when you're doing Pear Deck. You do, the students do not. Again, this is a teacher-based thing, not a student-based thing. I'm just going to check on you guys. Everybody good so far? Questions?
Two questions.
Yep. What's
the
up?
Power Up Chrome extension.
Yep.
Do we have to ask for that from you?
I believe it's allowed. If you need to ask, just shoot me an email and I can open it up. But I'm pretty sure it's open. I'm pretty sure I've used it before. So
okay, thank you.
You should just be able to install it. All right, I'm gonna go back. All right, so that's it for the kind of information about Pear Deck. So now we're gonna jump on to Pear Deck vocabulary, which is the last piece. And the way it works is you can create your word list. You can create it from scratch. You can sit here and make one up on your own. Or if you have them, for example, I know some teachers use Quizlet or Kia, stuff like that, places that you already have those vocabulary and definitions stored, you can copy and paste them over. Even if you just have it in a Google Doc, you can copy and paste it directly into the vocabulary factory. So you want to make sure that you include your definitions. You can create them on your own. You can copy paste them. It does have a Merriam-Webster integration, which has like a dictionary button. But again, you're getting a quote unquote dictionary definition. So especially for L's and lower kids, that's probably written in language that isn't familiar to them. So you want to make sure that you use user-friendly wording when you're doing your definition so the kids actually know what's going on there. So there's 3 different ways to play. You can play with the definitions and the students use each word in a sentence. So they're given the word, they're given the definition, they have to write the word into a sentence and they have to illustrate it. Or you can play without the definitions where the kids have to create their own definition for the sentence and the other group illustrates it. And the decks can be printed out so they can then use them like flashcards, or they can be exported to the website Gimkit for more interaction. There's like, it's like a quiz website, kind of like Kahoot or Quizzes. It's a little gamey base so that you could import them over there. So you want to make sure if you do use the vocabulary factory that you do discuss with your students what makes a good sentence, because obviously the sentence that a first or a second grader is going to write is your expectations for that are different than your sentence that you're expecting your 6th or 7th grader to write, and the same for the definitions. So if you don't go over those those expectations with them, they're probably going to give you the smallest possible response. So you want to make sure that you let them know that you're looking for something that actually demonstrates understanding of the word when they use it in a sentence or give the definition for it. Okay? All right. So I'm going to stop sharing for a sec. Questions before we try it out and you guys get to see what the students see. Everybody good? All right, so I do need you to open up a web browser. Okay, so if you have a phone or a tablet, you can do it on there. You can do it on the same computer, that's fine. But you do need to open up a new like internet window. You're muted, Celeste. I don't know if you're talking to me.
I'm on an iPad because my computer's being fixed.
Okay.
Can I do it?
Yeah, you can still pop on Safari.
Okay. If I lose you, it was
You
nice
won't
talking
lose
to
me.
you.
You'll be fine, I think.
Yeah.
We'll find out.
Good luck. You got a lot of faith there, Sarah.
I do.
Minimize meeting.
Yep.
All right.
And then open up a web browser.
All right. Oh, web browser.
All right.
Okay.
Start my lesson. Hold on one sec. Now, the cool thing about Pear Deck is you can run them in two ways. You can run them instructor paced, meaning the students stay with you, whatever slide you're on, they're also on, so you've kind of locked them in. And this can be done when you're doing this remotely, whether you're doing like a Zoom session, or it can be done when you're in class. So this is a great tool to use when you're in class with the kiddos, and you can run them multiple times. So if you use it with your A group on Monday, you can reuse it again with your B group on Thursday or Friday. So it's not like a one and done thing. You can use them over and over again. You can also use them student paced. So this would be like if you assigned it for the group that's working at home, the students can flip through the slides and the questions at their own pace. They're not locked into a particular slide at a time. So depending on which time you're going to use them is going to determine which way that you run them. So when you click on the Pear Deck add-on to start the lesson, you have to choose which way you're going to do it. So I'm going to do instructor pace because you guys are going to stay with me, and I'm going to talk about the different activities. So on your web browser, you want to go to the website www.joinpd, like Pear Deck. Okay, so joinpd.com. And when you're there, it should ask you for a join code. And your join code is, I'm going to give you letters, and then I'm going to read it in a funny sentence because it actually gives you a funny sentence to go with the letters. So FCRQD, and that's fragrant, carrots, raise, quick, drums. I got one student. Now, as you're joining, I'm gonna kind of talk. There's a couple different ways you can have your kiddos join. You can join just like we did. That's the traditional, go to this website, put in this code. You can also invite them via Google Classroom. So there's a little Google Classroom button when you're on your invite screen. It gives you an invitation and it hooks up to your Google Classroom, and it'll post in Google Classroom for you. So your kids just click on it. And then it does give them a direct link. So particularly if you're dealing with littles, or students who might have a little bit more difficulty getting to this website and putting in this code, you can give them a single link, kind of like the Zoom link where you click on it and it takes you straight into the meeting. You don't have to put in the ID number or the password. You can do that too. So you can give them that direct link straight into the Pear Deck. And that would be something that you could post in Google Classroom if you didn't connect it to Google Classroom using the button here. So I have 6 students. Anybody struggling to join? I just want to make sure. What's up, Patty? You're muted, love.
I don't even know how to get out of this screen where I'm seeing everyone's faces.
So up in the top, you know how there's like the little minus sign, you can make everybody small? In the top right-hand corner?
I know where that is, but I don't see it.
Are you in full screen?
I am, and then I go back to...
So hit exit full screen.
I did, yes.
And then right on top where the full screen and the button are, you should see the little minus. No? That's okay. You can just hang out. You can see what I see.
Okay.
Anybody else having trouble?
May I have the code again, please?
Yep. So fragrant, carrots. Hold on, I lost my screen. Raise, quick, drums.
Sarah, can I just ask, why are we doing this? Because I don't understand the flow.
So you're logging in as if you were students in a class. This way, you know what the students, you can experience what the students are going to experience when you do this.
And we should definitely do this in person to walk them through everything so that you're not trying to do this in some sort of synchronous learning experience.
Correct. The first time you do this, you would want to do this. Or like I said, there's other options to get them to join. There's the link up to Google Classroom, and there's the direct link, like the Zoom link that just gets them right in. So you could do either one of those options as well.
Okay.
This is the quote unquote more traditional way. Now with everything going remote and Pear Deck being more popular, they've added these other ways to get in. But like a year ago, this was the only way to get in.
And your code that you gave us, that is specific to this experience.
Correct.
So if I have 10 different classes, I'll have 10 different codes.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
So it's similar to like how each Google Classroom has its own code, each Kahoot has its own code. Like this code is just for this session.
Not even the class, just this session, this slide.
Just this session. Yep.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right. So I'm going to share my screen. I know most of you are on the Pear Deck screen, and that's fine. But for those of you who weren't able to get in, or those of you who know how to look at both at the same time, you're more than welcome to do that. Don't feel like you have to look at my screen, because I'm going to go over what the teacher side looks like after. Okay. But for those of you who weren't able to get in, this gives you something to look at.
Okay.
All right. So what you should see on your screen is this is your presentation title. Okay. So I'm going to force you to look at this. And then I'm going to advance everybody at the same time to the next slide. And you should see a slide that says circle your favorite dinosaur. And you have a drawing tool on your mouse, and you can circle whichever dinosaur you want to be your favorite dinosaur.
Sarah, I'm stuck. Can you hold on a sec? I gotta go find it. All right, I'm just gonna follow you because I got, how are you feeling today?
Oh, you're on a different one. Oh, how are you feeling today is like the starter slide. I think you have to.
Okay, so that's okay to use. I can just skip that one?
It, like once you sign in while it's waiting for everybody else to sign in, it gives you that.
Okay, so let me go back to that then. If I can find it. All right, I'm gonna skip it. Okay, click on your favorite dinosaur. Thank you.
Yeah. Yep, no problem. And if I wanted to, on my side, I can lock it down, meaning I don't want anybody to respond anymore. I'm done accepting responses, so everybody should see their screen locked down. And then if I wanted to, I could unlock it and allow you to respond again. Okay. I can show the responses. So you should be able to see everybody's responses now.
No.
No? Okay, I think that's a presentation thing. All right. And I'm going to take you to the next question.
Okay, I got that.
And this is a text question. So the first question was a drawing question. This is a text question. And you can just type gobbledygook. You don't have to actually like type anything. I've got 4 responses. On my side, I can see a tally of how many people have responded. I've got 5 responses, 7, 8, 9.
Sarah, there's a little key and an upside down teardrop. I just wondered what those are.
I have no idea.
Okay.
I don't know what's going on over there. All right, I have all my responses. I'm going to move on to the next slide. So this is a website where I can embed a website into Pear Deck. And what it does is you should see my slide on one side and the video, the Magic School Bus video on the other side. Okay.
So cool.
And this is really cool because you can give the students directions or information on your slide. But at the same time, they have kind of that dual screen where they can see whatever website you're directing them to. I like to use it for videos because it kind of tells the kids like, look for this in the video, do this in the video, all that kind of stuff. So there's no response on this, but it kind of forces you into the website that I want you to go to. All right, this is a multiple choice question. So you should see the question and then you should see the multiple choice answers.
And it's real time, correct, Sarah?
Yes, right now we're doing real time. You could do this self-paced, meaning the students would do it as they are directed to. So you would leave this open all week if it was student-paced, and that way your students could do it on Monday and Tuesday, and then the other students could do it Thursday and Friday. All right, I'm gonna move on. So you should see a magnifying glass. I want you to drag the magnifying glass over the dinosaur's eye.
Sarah, can I ask you a question?
Of course.
If you had 30 kids in the class,
Yes.
can you see us all dragging the thing?
I
with
can.
you?
Yes.
Really?
So on my side, and like I said, I'll show you this after the fact. On my side, I have a button that says show responses. So I can actually sit here and watch what you guys are doing. And particularly with the drag slides and the draw slides, I can look at each person individually like a whole slide. I can look at them like tiles, and I'll show you what that looks like in a few minutes. Or I can layer them on top of each other. So right now I'm looking at everybody's magnifying glasses kind of overlaid on top of each other, and everybody's able to put the magnifying glass in the right place. So I know that this is a topic we've mastered.
Okay.
And I think here you go. So here's another draggable, just another example of how a draggable could work. There should be a little location marker. You can pull it wherever you want, all over the map, drop it where you think dinosaurs are from. And you can, I didn't do it on this particular slide, but you can make multiple icons. So right now you have one icon. I could have made it so you had 5 icons to move around on the slide. All right, I'm going to go to the next question. So this is the number question we talked about. So you're typing in a number answer.
Can you see us goofing around too?
Yeah, sort of. Like I can see what you respond. I can't see what you like are actually doing on your screen. So you could get out of this and go do something else on another website.
Okay. And you can't see me physically?
No.
Okay.
I mean, on Zoom I can because I have Zoom open at the same time, but through Pear Deck, no.
Okay. Thank you.
If I were doing this whole class during a Zoom session, I would want to kind of have my Zoom window floating around as well.
Got it.
All right, I'm going to move on to the next question. This is the end. You're going to write down any questions you still have. It's another one of those text-based things. I believe on the text-based ones, you can enter more than one thing. So for like this type of question, the kids could enter 3, 4, 5 different responses. They would all be attributed to them, but they could enter multiple responses. They don't just have to do one. All right, and I am going to end my session. So you're going to see your screen kind of stop. And I'm saving it, and it's actually, I do have the student takeaways checked off, so you should get a takeaway like a Google Doc sent to your Google Drive about your answers from today's session. So you can kind of get an experience of what that looks like too. I believe you get an email of them. Now, again, we've talked about this before. K to 5 kids don't get emails. They would still get the takeaway in their Google Drive, but you would just have to show them where those takeaways are stored. For the 6th through 12th graders, they, I believe, would be able to get this email. It does give you a share to Google Classroom link for the takeaway, so you could post that link into your Google Classroom as well, so the students would know that their takeaways were there. All right, questions about the student side before I show you what the teacher side looks like. Any good?
Do you direct the pace, Sarah?
On that one I did. So when you do instructor paste, yes, I move the slides along as we go through. So if you were doing this whole class with Zoom, you would want to do instructor paste. Or if you were doing this in class as like presenting your content, again, instructor paste. But if you wanted the students to move along on their own pace and do it at their own speed, then you would do student paste. I would say if you're doing instructor paste, to do very short, simple prompts, because if you're sitting there waiting for 4 kids to type out these big long paragraphs, the rest of the class is going to be moaning and groaning the whole time. So you got to make those responses, those questions, real short and sweet if you're doing instructor paced.
Sarah.
Thank you.
Pam, and then Laurie.
When you, sorry, when you
That's all right.
when you embedded the video,
Yeah.
and if the kids were at home,
Yep.
it's student paced.
Mhm.
So like, could they could essentially skip the video.
They could, yes, absolutely. And it doesn't have to be a video. I tend to use it for videos just because it takes them straight where I want them to go. You could use it for a specific website on like National Geographic Kids or, you know, whatever it doesn't have to be a video. It's a website embed, but it's nice because it takes them right to that. There's no like Google searching for what you want them to see or anything like that. But like you said, they can skip it. Yeah,
There's
they
no way
can
to
skip over
ensure
it.
that they're following along and
Mhm.
doing everything. Okay.
No, we haven't found a really great thing for that. Edpuzzle works, but we've talked about that before. We have the free version, so you only get 10 videos. You have to like take videos off your queue if you want to use that. But I do like Edpuzzle. I like it a lot.
Are we all back at Zoom?
Yeah,
Oh, shoot. Sorry.
that's all right. No worries. Laurie.
So I'm thinking this could be a Wednesday thing. You
Yeah.
do a 5-minute Wednesday thing, but then Pam said something about embedding, like we have a website where we have videos that introduce the new lesson or whatever, and that could be something I could do with them.
Yes.
Instead of just giving it to them, watch this video and do this, I could actually do it with them, then get back to them and say, oh, you know, like the usual questions, what did you see? And, you
Yep.
know, all those, like 5 W's or whatever I wanted to
Yep.
do.
Yep,
Okay,
absolutely.
so that could be an interactive one I could do with them
Yes.
on that
I would
day.
also say if you're going to be doing videos with the kiddos, it does work over Zoom, watching videos together. It's not the greatest.
Mhm.
I tend to recommend having your students watch the video, if at all possible, prior to your sessions, so that you're not waiting for kids who are having connection issues, or this kid can't see it, or this kid can't hear it, and da-da-da-da-da. If you are going to do videos together, whether it's through Pear Deck or Zoom or whatever you're watching them with, try and keep them really short. Because again, you're going to have kids who are like, oh my God, I'm not watching this video. They're going to take out their headphones, turn off their video, and walk away. And then come back 20 minutes later and be like, oh yeah, I watched that video. I'm totally with that. So keep them real short, like 5-minute videos if you're doing them live with the kiddos.
They are, but that's better because it's, you know, it's good to always pre-read, so preview.
Yeah,
before we have a
exactly.
discussion.
Yep. Celeste.
Thanks.
If you have a little bit longer video that you're going to
Mhm.
show, would it be better to use Edpuzzle to make sure that it kind of stops them along the way and use Pear Deck for maybe the shorter ones?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so now I'm going to show you a couple things. I'm going to show you what it looks like when you're doing them, so what the teacher sees when she's doing them, and I'm also going to show you what the dashboard looks like. So like if you did send it out as self-paced, I'm going to show you how you can go in and see your students' responses as they're finishing them up. Because if you assign it on Monday and it's something they're supposed to do when they're at home, you can go in on Friday or the following Monday to see the responses that the kiddos made. So I'm going to show you what that looks like. I'm going to share my screen. All right, so this was the one that I gave you guys, and to make it work, to run it, I went to add-ons, I went to Pear Deck for Google Slides, and I opened it. And over here on the side, up at the very top, there's a Start Lesson button. So I clicked on that. And this is where I got to choose if I wanted to be instructor paced, which is what I did. Bye, Pam. And this is where I did, you could do student paced. So you could do either one, whichever one you wanted to do. So I'm going to do instructor paced again, just so you can see what it looks like. And I'm going to join on my phone. All right. So if you were in class, this would be projected up on the screen for the students to see, okay? And you can see there's the website at the top, joinpd.com. There's the letters and the funny sentence that it gives you. And then down here on the bottom, there's the invitation for Google Classroom. So you could click this button and it would link up to Google Classroom. So like if you would click this, put it in Google Classroom, tell all your students to go on Google Classroom, they would click into it. You could also just copy and paste a link. So again, with Google Classroom or Dojo or Seesaw or whatever you're using, you could copy this link. It's similar to the Zoom connection link. Copy the link, paste it in, and there the kiddos would have it. So I'm going to enter the code on my phone so you guys can see what
I'm on a call.
There we go. Eventually. There you go. And you'll see where it said waiting for students has now turned into start class. And down here in the corner, it will tell you how many students have connected with you. So right now there's one student, it's me on my phone. I'm gonna go ahead and start the class. And on my phone, I see that question you guys had was, how are you feeling today? It's just a placeholder for the students who are waiting for the rest of the class to join. They can skip it, they can answer it, doesn't really matter. So now on my phone, I'm seeing the slides just like you guys were seeing them as I advanced through them. But on my teacher side, this is what I see. I see the slides, but I also have this toolbar that pops up at the bottom. This is my advance. I can go to the next slide here. I can also add questions immediately here. So let's say I had a question I wanted the kids to answer. I could pick a question and just insert it real quick into my slide to kind of move it along. So that first slide is still there, but I said, instead of going to what I had planned to be for slide 2, I now want the kids to do something on this screen. And I'm drawing something on my phone. And if I want to see what the kids are doing, I would click show responses. And this is what I just drew on my phone. On the top up here, this is where you can decide how you see the answers. And it's not going to work great right now, but I could see a list layout, which means there would be slides. I could scroll down and see each kid's slide. I can do a grid view and each kid's slide would be small here so I could see everybody in like a shot or two. Or I could do overlay, and overlay is really cool when you do drawing or dragging because it puts everybody's responses on top of each other. You can see it kind of turn transparent. So I could see each kid's response as they drew it on the screen. And you can actually see what's happening in real time. I'm erasing some of the drawing that I did and you can see it disappearing on my slide in the teacher dashboard. When I lock the screen down here at the bottom, there's a lock screen. On my screen on my phone, it says your teacher has locked responses. You are not allowed to submit responses anymore. On my side as a teacher, the only difference I see is that this button is red now. All right, so I'm gonna unlock it. I'm gonna go to the next slide. So again, this is a drawing question. You see this. On my phone, I see the slide just like you guys did. So this is the text question. I just see the slides, but when I go to show responses, let me type in a couple things real fast.
Sarah, so if someone's struggling with their Chromebook connecting or whatever, the keyboard isn't working, they could always do all this on their phone.
Yes, I'm doing this on my phone right now.
Great.
So I'm entering responses. Add another one.
Address is out there.
I don't even know what I'm writing. I'm just typing stuff. All right, so I've entered a bunch of responses. As you can see, what I would show in the class as the responses are coming in, there's no names associated with these. But when you look at the final product, not right now, but after the fact, you'll actually be able to see who wrote these because it asked me my account. So right now you can't see them because this is what you would be showing the class while you were doing this. But after we end the session, you would be able to see that Sarah Boyle submitted these. So on my screen, when I get to the video, all I see is the slides. I don't see the video. On your computer, the kiddos see both at the same time. On a phone, the kids get a link to go to the video, and then they have to kind of come back to Pear Deck. So it doesn't, sometimes it shows up side by side, sometimes it shows up where they have to click on something. So it just depends on how big their screen is. Again, this is one of those multiple choice questions. I just see the question. If I go to show responses, it's waiting for my response. There it is. So it'll show you a bar graph of how many kids picked each answer. It'll show you so that you get an idea of whether or not the students are understanding. And then again, with the draggable, this is where the overlay comes in really handy. You can see if everybody's kind of put it in the right place or if they're picking the wrong thing. If you're looking at individual answers, you can actually see people as they're moving their things. So if they're goofing off and putting it in places, you can be like, ah, and tell them to stop doing that. And again, another draggable. So here on the number one, I'm gonna put in an answer. And what you see, this one's pretty cool. What you see is like this number bar. And if I had put in an answer like 100, this would be way over on the side, but you'll see everybody's answers stacked up here, and you'll be able to determine if they're kind of in the right ballpark or not. Or you could see individual kiddos' answers in each box this way in the grid view. But for this particular question, the overlay is really effective because you can see if they're understanding the concept or not. And then this would be a text response question again. So I'm gonna end this. So I ended it. I would give it a title. So, and then this is where the student takeaways, you could either turn them on, check mark means they're on, or you turn them off, meaning the students don't get it. If this was a quick spur of the moment thing and the kids don't need documentation of it, they don't need proof of their responses, you would turn this off. You would end. If I wanted to share the takeaways with the student, I could click this link and post it in Google Classroom. And then I'm done. It takes me back to Google Slides. Okay. So if I wanted to go back in after the fact and see who made which response, or if I ran this as self-paced, I would want to check in every once in a while or when I ended the session to see what the students' responses are. And I would do that in a similar way. I would go to add-ons. I would go to Pear Deck. Here it comes. And over here in the hamburger or 3 lines, I would go to review sessions. And so I forgot to mention this in the beginning, where it says require student logins. This is what makes it so that you'll be able to see which student did which one. So remember that question when you joined the Pear Deck, it said, what's your Google account? And you had to pick your Google account from the list. You wanna make sure that this is turned on. And once you turn it on, it stays on. You don't have to come back and do it each time, but make sure that the first time you do a Pear Deck, this is turned on so you know which student said what. But right now I'm gonna review my sessions. And it takes me to the Pear Deck website. So we all have accounts on the Pear Deck website. You'll see your student email address up here at the top. The first time you might have to log in, but these are my sessions, okay? This was the session, the 9:38 session, that was the session you guys did. And the 9:56 session, that was the session that I did. So if I wanted to see the student responses, I can export them to a spreadsheet. I can see each student's takeaway, and I can figure out who said what during this session. I could see which responses were from Celeste, which ones were from Kathy, and I would know who was on the ball for that.
And Sarah, you got to those choices by the 3 dots?
Yep, the 3 dots.
Thank you.
So right here, I can see what everybody said for each question.
Got it.
So it tells me who said what. If you look at the students' takeaways, it gives you kind of like almost like a quiz. It gives you all of their responses in like a worksheet. So depending on how you like to look at student responses in terms of who said what, if you want to look at everybody all at the same time and see everybody's responses to slide 1, slide 2, slide 3, and then kind of trace it back across the row to who said it, you can do it with the spreadsheet. But if you prefer to kind of have a printout of each kid's responses, more like a quiz or a worksheet, then you would want to look at their takeaways. My computer's running a little slow. I'm trying to get back. Here we go. So if I wanted to look at the takeaways, it would generate that for me. Just click on that link. It takes me into my drive where it's stored everything. And here's where I can see each person's individual answers as a single piece of paper. Or
Does that need to be organized, Sarah?
nope, it did it by itself.
No, but like to clean up your drive, is that or not necessary?
Nope. So what it does is the first time you do it, it makes a Pear Deck. I forget what it's called. It might be called like Pear Deck takeaways or Pear Deck sessions, something like that. It makes that folder, and then it makes a subfolder in there for each session of takeaways that you do.
Okay.
So or just like Google Classroom organizes everything based on assignments underneath each classroom inside that folder, this does the same thing. It uses the same organization thing.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is running really slow. I'm trying, guys. Any questions? Kathy? There you go.
So this is just a practical question, but I noticed that when I was fooling around with it and I embedded a question or a draggable or whatever it was, it came on this ugly blue thing that is
Yes.
the basic thing. And I saw at the end of your credits that the illustrations came from Slides Carnival. Is
Yes.
it difficult, or how would I approach that?
So what I did when I did it, I made my slides. I did them what I wanted them to do. And then I inserted the question on top of the slides. I didn't use the templates that they have. I just kind of added a question on my own. So if you want the pretty backgrounds, I have a couple of websites that I use. I use Slides Carnival. I also use Slides Mania. And basically what you do is you go through, you look at what they have, you find one you want, and there's a use Google Slides template button, it says. And basically when you click that button, it opens it up. And then there's a button in the upper right-hand corner that says use template. You click that and it saves it to your drive.
Okay,
And
so
then
it's just a
use-
matter of you do the slides first.
Yes, I always do the slides first because I don't like their stuff.
Okay,
I like
all
my
right,
stuff.
thanks very much.
Let's see if this opened up. Here we go.
For
So
slide,
here's the responses, the takeaways. So this would be what the students see too. So this is what slide 2 looked like. This is what that person responded with their circle. And I could put notes in here. Like if I wanted to give feedback to the kiddos in these takeaways. So this particular takeaway, I believe, is for Anne Marie. I could go on here and I could say, oh, this is a great circle. I love this dinosaur too. And I could go down here and I could say, yes, they are dead. That's a great observation. So I can put my feedback into the takeaway for the kids to see in their version of the takeaway. So this is a shared document between me and Anne Marie right now. She can see whatever I write in this document. Questions? Good? All right. Well, if anybody wants to stick around and chat, if you have any questions about anything, if you need some more information about Pear Deck, I am here. But other than that, we did go a little over because of our preview conversation in the beginning. But I am going to go ahead and stop the recording. Stop.
Sarah, I am going to leave. It's Laurie.